Is this vice president and this cabinet, 50% of them, they're going to get together privately and decide that when a president makes statements like, I'm going to eliminate a civilization, that an entire civilization is going to die, which means women, children, old people, that he is no longer qualified to be president? I didn't think this guy was ever qualified to be president. I mean, he's a convicted felon. We shouldn't elect felons president, but he was elected. But I don't see at this point this cabinet having the spine to do that. They should. The vice president has to agree as well. Donald Trump decided to declare war against Iran. We have 13 dead U.S. service members, and we have the Strait of Hormuz closed. And he never, I don't even think he has yet given a real vision, his vision for why this was necessary. What's in it for the American people here? He's got a moving target. He talked about regime change. He talked about getting rid of their enriched uranium, eliminating the threat of their ballistic missile systems, which still exists, by the way. The uranium is still there. At one point he talks about, we're going to get rid of their Navy. He says he has a feeling. He had a feeling. The Secretary of State talked about there was an imminent threat in the future. What's imminent about the future? Nothing. So I don't get how this helps anybody from day one. This is not helping Arizonans afford their energy costs. You run a food truck like this, you gotta buy gasoline. Gas prices are up over $1 a gallon. So there was, in my view, nothing in it for the American people. Now it seems like his strategic goal out of all this is opening the Strait of Hormuz, which was wide open in February. He has created a scenario where now the Iranians, this Iranian regime, by the way, the son is more of a hardliner than Mushtaba is more of a hardliner than the dad. So now they know what they need to do to maintain control of this 20-mile strait between Iran and Oman. And if they do that effectively, they can charge $2 million a passing, which probably is could turn into about $100 million a day of revenue, if not more than that. So yeah, that's a big risk. Donald Trump handed the Iranian regime and the IRGC a $100 million a day toll booth, all of his making, which is going to continue to keep energy costs high. Who does this benefit? Well, benefits the Iranians. I mean, Donald Trump also eliminated some of the sanctions on them, so then they were able to sell their oil. And by the way, who else got sanctions relief? Russia. And Russia gets to sell their crude oil now because Donald Trump now allows them to do it. And the price of a barrel of crude oil is higher. So the Russians can rearm and continue to commit war crimes against our ally, Ukraine. Yeah, Donald Trump is kicking people off of SNAP, which is food assistance, including making it harder for kids to get school lunches, reduced price lunches or free lunches, so he could give a big tax cut to billionaires. That's what he did. He prioritizes the tax rate of the richest people who have more money than they can spend in multiple lifetimes over folks like who are sitting at this table that are having a hard time putting groceries on the table. Half of all Americans right now are having a hard time affording food, and it's wrong. So what can we do about it? So we have some levers in the minority in the United States Senate and the House. You know, it's things like the defense bill. We could use that as a little bit of leverage. But you know where we really get some leverage? It's when we're in the majority. We have an election coming up in November, and I'm going to continue to, help candidates who will fight for the hardworking American people ahead of billionaires and millionaires. I'm going to be fighting to get them elected so we can win back the House and we can win back the Senate, and then we really have some leverage against this president who does not put the American people first. Well, the moment that sticks with me is I was standing 2.2 miles away from the launch pad, when they launched last week, which is something I've done before with the space shuttle. Now, sometimes I was in the rocket ship, not this time. I was very jealous that I just had to watch, but I was really excited to be there. And I think this is a really good thing for our country right now, when we are very divided politically, a lot of partisanship, a lot of challenges. The president took us to war. Yeah, it's been a tough time, right? People can't afford their lives. It's nice to see something that's positive that we can do coming together, that, by the way, other countries can't do. Even the Chinese, even though they're trying to get to the surface of the moon, and they would probably like to do it before we get back to the surface of the moon, they haven't done that yet. This moment reminded me a little bit about what I know about 1968. I was 4 years old at the time, but when Apollo 10 went to the moon, 1968 was the year that Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. And I think the Tet Offensive was going on. It was a bad year all around. And Frank Borman, who was an Arizonan, went to Tucson High School. He was the commander of the mission, and he got a telegram from just a regular old citizen that said, I'm paraphrasing, said, thank you. You saved 1968. The case against me?
Yes.
You mean where Donald Trump said I should be hanged?
Yes.
Executed? Prosecuted for something I said? Well, first of all, he couldn't even get the order right. They tried to throw me in jail, indict me, grand jury, just like 16 regular people. Every single one of them told them to take a hike. We've seen that story before, which is, by the way, is a very rare thing in our country, that a grand jury fails to indict somebody. But the president tried to throw me in jail to shut me up. And the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is trying to reduce me in rank, take away some of my pension, because he wants to silence me, and he wants to silence 2 million other veterans, retired veterans. He doesn't want people speaking out against him, which, by the way, I'd say even more than a right in our country, it's a feature of our Constitution. We all have a right to speak out against the government when we think they're doing stupid things. And that's my job. I'm on the Armed Services Committee and the Intelligence Committee. My job is to hold these clowns accountable. And I'm going to continue to do that. But I got to go back to court because they appealed. I won in the first case. But now we're in the DC Circuit Court in May because they appealed the ruling.
Are the president and Pete Hegseth giving your lawyers more evidence in the last 2 weeks regarding illegal orders, potentially illegal orders they've issued?
They're not helping themselves, and they tend to double down on doing dumb things. It's been my experience with these guys.
A while ago, some of our federal representatives said that they wanted to recalculate energy assistance based on hotter states versus colder states.
Yes.
With the concern that colder states get more assistance.
That's what I was talking about with these folks.
Do you guys ever get a response to that, though?
We do, and we're continue to fight. Every year it's a fight for more LIHEAP help for hotter states. Because it's the same problem.
Is there any bipartisan support maybe for like recalculating that?
Well, there's bipartisan support from the people who live in the Southwest where it's really hot. Yes.
The Forest Service plays a major role in our lives. The president is reshuffling the service right now, moving its headquarters, shutting down R&D labs. What's your response to that?
Hey, I'm a big supporter of research, development, science. We have the world's biggest economy, not because of real estate developers, but because of basic scientific research, and it benefits us in so many different ways. This president doesn't, looks at science as like an optional thing, and has made, cuts in the government that, indicates, where he stands on this issue, and it's not in our best interest.
All right, thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Appreciate it. All right.